Now we're going to sew the front of the purse. You'll need your base exterior piece. You will need your PC2 front pocket linings. Make sure you know which piece is up, because that matters. You will need your piece B front top, and you need to transfer any markings from where the snap is going to go. And your piece D front pocket exterior. You'll notice there's two places where you can have a snap. This is if you're going to use the flap. This is if you're not going to use a flap. On this version, I'm not going to use a flap. And also, if you want to do some sort of edge snap, let me see if I can show you how this would work. You can also do an edge snap instead of one of these other snaps, and I will show you how to do that too. So we're going to start with these lining pieces, piece C. I'm going to take one of them and match it up with the top of piece D. So the tops of both of these are together, and I will sew these together. I'm going to set that aside for the moment. And my piece B and my other lining piece. So the top of this lining piece is going to go flush with the bottom. And I'm going to turn those around so I can sew them. Remember, everything is still a 3/8 seam allowance, 3/8 inch, 1 centimeter seam allowance, unless I tell you otherwise. Okay, I am now going to open both of these pieces up and top stitch this. I'm going to push the seam down towards the lining and top stitch this. And then same with this other piece. All right, now we're going to fold this piece. We are not folding it in half. That's an easy mistake to make. So we're not folding it in half. We are folding it so that there is 1 inch here. So you'll notice the pattern piece goes in there. There's a marking where it's the fold line. We are folding along that line, or 1 inch from this seam. Okay, and you will have, depending on whether you're doing the small or the large, you will have either about 1 inch or 1/2 inch poking out from the bottom there. And now I'm going to top stitch this fold. At this point, if you are doing if you're going to have a flap with a magnet closure, you will install your the thick side of your magnet right here. But for this one, I am not going to have a magnet. I'm not going to have a flap. So I'm going to install the thin side of my magnet right here. I already made marks. And if I were wanting to do this edge piece, this would be when I would install that. And I have some pieces of Peltex I've already cut into little squares. And then I take the little washer that covers it and fold these out. I'm going to make this a little shorter. Now I'm going to match up the bottoms of these linings and sew them together. Okay, now I'm going to install the thick side of the magnet over here. And if you are doing the edge magnet, you would just figure out your placement. But for this, I already marked my placement. Washer goes on, and then fold these prongs out. And these will match up. That'll kind of hold this in place while we can't sew these edges yet because we have to sew the base onto this. All right, so I now need my piece E base. And this is my exterior piece, so I've cut it out on the solid lines. My lining pieces I will cut out in the dotted lines. So I'm going to sew it to the bottom of this pocket piece, but not, sorry, the bottom of the exterior pocket piece, but don't catch the linings in it. I did give this vinyl a little bit of interfacing for two reasons. One, it's slightly stretchy. I don't want it stretching out in any direction. Two, you want the base of your purse to be nice and sturdy. So vinyl is a good option for the bottom, or cork. The other gusset pieces that we'll be talking about later on, these exterior gussets also need to be sturdy. And that gives your purse the best likelihood of being stable and not being floppy. Now before I top stitch this side, I am going to stitch my front A piece that's been all stitched up. I am going to attach this to the base, and definitely do not catch this pocket in the base. Okay, now I am going to top stitch the bottom. I'm going to top stitch towards the base. Now you can go either direction here, but whichever way you go for the exterior on the lining, you're going to need to top stitch in the opposite direction to reduce bulk in the seams. Especially if you do the binding version. Those seams will be right next to each other. So I am top stitching towards the base. I think my kids are just about done with me recording today. Great, we're close to being done. Since I'm not doing the flap, I just have one more step, and that is to baste these side edges of this pocket piece. So what I do is I match up these two seams, and then I just work down from there. And this pocket extends into the base a bit. And I will sew this side. And as for this bag, I am done with the exterior. If you are doing the flap, this would be when you would sew the flap. Let me just show you my finished finished exterior. So I'm going to show you my flap on my large to walk you through that. Okay, after you've basted the sides of your large, you'll take your two flap pieces. For this I did one accent and one exterior because this vinyl was a little thick and I was a little concerned about it. Sewed it together much like the overlay. Right sides together, leaving a spot open, turn it right side out. Then I installed this side of the snap, top stitched around this rounded edge, and then I attached those two snaps, and that lets me know what the placement is for this final seam. So I attached it, straightened it up, and stitched all the way across to stitch this flap in place. So that's how it looks with the flap. And the final thing, before you set this aside to work on the lining, get out your foam and you'll roll it out, and you'll put this whole exterior long piece on top of your foam, and then cut all the way around it, and that is the shape of your foam, and you will need that before sewing the lining.